My name is Scott Stevens, and my brand is called the Quiet Warrior Life, or for short, we call it the Quiet Warrior. It's designed for men. It's designed to uplift and to motivate men to fulfill their responsibilities to protect and provide for their families. I feel like those are two things that most men that I know that are in my situation that have a young family or want to have young families, that's their identity is to protect and provide. And I guess what I like about my brand is that that's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to provide products that can help people do that. The thing that really kind of focused with me is the reason why I call it the Quiet Warrior and why we call it the Warriors altogether is one is life is a battle, whether it's physical battle, whether it's just the battle of getting your teenage son to do the dishes or your 6-year-old daughter to actually go to bed and stuff like that. Life is a battle. And for men, the battle usually revolves around how well they can provide for their families. There is physical danger, but there's also like emotional danger. I mean, that's become a lot more prevalent over the last few years. That's kind of the warrior end of it. The quiet end of it is most men are not very flamboyant or gaudy or braggadocious. I guess that's a better word. Most men are kind of quietly go about their business. And if they're hurt inside, they don't let you know it. And so they quietly go about it. And I just want to support those kind of guys. I guess kind of in some ways comes from, I think Nixon coined the term silent majority, kind of comes from that. But I think there are a lot of men out there that quietly go about doing that. That's what my brand's about, is supporting them, going to help them in their lives to, again, protect and provide for their families. I think society markets to men according to their appetites and their fantasies. Like Jerry Seinfeld famously said one time, he's like, most men consider themselves low-level superheroes. And then he backs it up. He's like, if you've ever seen a guy driving in his truck and he's got a load of stuff and he's got his mattress on top of his car, he's always has his hand up there holding it on. And there is kind of like that mentality. And I have that mentality, right? But I think the idea is like, that's kind of how men are marketed to, those kind of on your fantasies, like become this superhero, take this and it's going to turn you into Arnold Schwarzenegger, or take this and you're going to have sexual prowess and women are just going to, spray this stuff on your body and you're going to smell and women are going to fall into your lap, right? Those are the kind of things that I think men are marketed by, and I want to change that. I don't think I can change that, but I think I can create a business that markets to their honor. Toxic masculinity, kind of want to distance my brand from that a little bit. Like, I don't want to be like, we're attacking toxic masculinity or we're pushing back against it. That's not really what I want to do. What I want to do is say, look, there is that. I'm not going to deny it. There have been men who have acted poorly, but I think some of the blame is how we've marketed to them. Society and marketers have said, these are the appetites of men. Let's market to that. And so in a way, they've kind of created this culture of toxic masculinity. Again, what I want to do with the Quiet Warrior is come back to this idea of honor. For the Quiet Warrior and kind of pulling this together and figuring this out, I wrote what I called like the 7 Quiet Warrior principles. And they're honor, dignity, excellence, self-reliance, compassion, integrity. These are the things that I think really make us men, not just male, but men, being men. I served in the military. When you said that guy's a good man, that meant something. It wasn't like he's a good male, right? He's a good man. Like, he's someone you can depend on. Honor, dignity, excellence, self-discipline, character, integrity, and compassion. Those principles are what make up most quiet warriors. I use Facebook, using the model that we're taught to focus on one platform. I've used Facebook and people have started to gravitate towards it. It's small numbers, but they're active. They're liking what's coming out, posting, they're liking it. They're expressing their ideas or their understanding of that principle. It's really inspiring. Right now, the product I'm working on is a supplement. I want, again, not to say take this and you'll turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger, but take this and this will help you continue to be the man that you are. Continue to bring out those good qualities that you have, of those traits or the desires to protect and provide for your family. I'd actually had a really bad spring. A year ago, I had a really bad March. Kind of almost fell apart, right? Kind of had a breakdown. I suffer as a war soldier. Like, I suffer from some mental health issues and stuff. But like my brother-in-law, around that same time, he just had a terrible day. He wrecked his car, totaled it. Luckily, he didn't get hurt. So he and his wife, they're not in a position to be able to just go out and buy a new car. He was at fault in the accident. They weren't going to get the insurance money. I think they only had, like liability on their car. And so, I mean, they just kind of went through a really bad little episode. And so I called him up and I was like, hey, let's go do something. We both have pistols. And so we went out. We live in Idaho. We went out into into the hills, into a valley, and we just took like cans like of fruit and put them out there as targets. And we just had 100 rounds of 9 mil and we just let it go, right? We just went out and had some fun and blew up these cans of fruit. On our way back, I know he and my sister-in-law, they've always kind of been like trying to figure out how to make extra money on the side. And so I was like, hey, you know, I've saved up some money. I'd invest in you. They're talking about buying and selling on Amazon, buying products. And I was like, oh, well, hey, you know, I'll come in as a partner. I'll come and help you. And they were kind of like, well, as you can see, I have a little bit of a personality, right? Like I can be persistent. I can be like, hey, let's make things happen. And I think they were a little bit like, we're not quite at your speed, Scott. He's like, but I started reading this book and you might be interested in this book. And I was like, well, tell me about this book. And he started telling me about 12 months to $1 million. He's like, you want to read it? And I was like, well, you guys finish it. I don't want to take it out of your hands, but when you're done, I would love to read it. Yeah, I'll send it over. And when he was done, he sent it over and like, I got it and I read it. I think I read it in a week or two. And I was like, this is really good. I could do this. I started reading it and I think I got a little ahead of myself in it. I was like, I'm going to buy a website. So I bought a website. I came up with my ideas, like find an avatar. I'm that avatar. I want to create something for myself. What do I want? And that's where I came up with Quiet Warrior. I thought the book was awesome. It led me to find the 1%. I signed into the 1% and I just kind of started plowing into it. I didn't quite know where to start in the training. And so I just started at the beginning and it took me a while to figure out. And once I got into the training though, and I really started taking that serious, it's led me to where I am right now is I have started to create my following. I have about 2,500 followers on my Facebook page. That I feel really good about. In fact, I just crossed the 2,500 mark today. I went and found a product. Like that's one of the things that he's like, don't get hung up on that. And I thought, I think he did a Venn diagram of what to do. And so I was like, there's a place here in town that actually makes supplements. And I've been taking them. And that went from when I had my crash a little bit. And I found one that I felt like this would really help men. And so I got that. And I talked to them about white labeling it and putting it together for me and putting my brand on it. And they're like, yeah, we do that all the time. And so I got that. So I have a product. Where I'm at right now is how do I tie my message to my product a little bit better so that it sells? I put it out there to my Facebook friends, my geographical friends, right, that are close by. And I sold like 9 bottles of it and reached out and 3 of them gave me reviews that they put on my website. I haven't put it on Amazon yet. I'm still working out how to do that. I have it on a website where people can buy it. I still have 70 bottles of it out of my first case. That's where I'm at. And I'm excited about it. I've kind of felt like I've come up against a little bit of resistance, but it hasn't sold like I would hope it would sell. And so right now I'm kind of figuring out, and I think this is where I'm at, is I haven't tied my message very well to the product itself. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, is figuring out how to do that in a way that people are like, oh, I see how this fits what you're doing.
What do you have planned for long-term with the brand?
So I have 3 other supplements that I'm thinking about that I would take that are like, one's for like inflammation, the other one sexual function. I'll be 45 this year, and that, whether men like it or not, is part of our life. I've thought about those 3 products, like goes back to the book. He's like, think of 3 products and then pick the one you feel like you'd like to lead with. And then once you get that up to like 10, 15, 20 sales a day, then circle back and bring these other ones in. And so I've been planning that. But the brand itself, like I want it to be an identifier for men. I want men to wear it proudly. One of the things I really want to do well is I want to run a good challenge. I ran a challenge 2 weeks ago. I need to learn how to do it better, but I just did it in my Facebook group. So I have the Quiet Warrior Life, and then I have a Facebook group called the Quiet Warriors. And in that, I have almost 800 people in that group. So it's growing and they're pretty active. And so I ran a challenge just in the group. I was like, I put in certain thought exercises each day, and then I asked people to post their thoughts. And if you did, then you would be entered into the raffle prize. And then I went out and bought sweatshirts or long sleeve shirts and then put my logo on them on the back. The guys that commented the most, I gave one to them. So I gave 4 shirts away, and I really liked that. I like seeing that logo on a shirt. I would love to get into clothing, to be 100% honest. But I listened to Greg Johnson. He's, a great coach in the 1%. And he's like, clothing is tough because inventory is one pain in the butt. I'm not versed in that industry. I don't know 100% about it, but I would love to move into that. Like, even if it's just like sweatshirts and pullovers and stuff like that are quiet warrior, that I think would be really fun, really cool, really rewarding, I think, to see somebody wearing my outfit. When I sent out those shirts, I had some of my guys in my quiet warrior that got it, and he took a picture. He's like, I wear this proudly. He was like standing like with his chest out, like at attention. I was like, man, that's my guy right there. That dude's awesome. And I mean, I told him, I was like, thank you so much. That made my day.
I know you're working at a university. Are you a professor or?
No,
Okay.
my title is called business consultant. I go to businesses in the surrounding area and I talk to them about their training needs. And then I see if we can actually fill those training needs with university resources. So we have a College of Technology. Yesterday, I was on a call with a fabrication company here in town that they wanted to do what's called geometric dimension and tolerance training. It's like a language in machining that you have certain symbols that they understand, like how accurate you have to be in your machining for this piece. 2 or 3 years ago, I had a guy, he was a process improvement expert in the university, and I was setting him up to do some training with our city government to do what's called the Lego challenge, where we mock up the work experience, but we use Legos in manufacturing. And so we can kind of the work experience and see it kind of from a bird's eye view. It's a really cool exercise. Well, he had promised to do it, and then he backed out. And then he sent this really nasty email to like my boss and me about that I was trying to take advantage of him or something. I don't know. This is my side of the story. And so he really just ticked me off. I mean, I was trying to be nice in the email exchange and everything. And then when he's like, no, I have to do this other thing. And I was like, why you said you'd committed to us. And he just really kind of ticked me off. And so I was like, you know what, screw you. I didn't say that, but that's what I thought in my head. At that time, I had like 4 or 5 interns working for me that were pretty smart kids. And I was like, this is what I want you to do. And I got online and I looked up Lego simulation or Lego stuff. And like, there's other people that have done this, created this certain thing. And so I found an outline of one, and I was like, I printed it off and I handed it to him. And I was like, you guys go make me this program. I'll build out how we're going to do it and everything. I can't remember what part I assigned him, but long story short is we built our own. And I think we built a superior one to the one that he was doing, because I think I actually had better experiences with process improvement than he did. Before I worked for the university, I worked as a consultant. I worked in leadership consulting. I hung my shingle and tried to start my own consulting company and like work with companies and stuff like that. So I was like, I think I have just as relatable or better stories and better understanding of this than this guy. So long story short is that's what we did. And we charged half as much as we did before because I was doing it and I didn't have to charge as much. And so I like doing that kind of stuff. I've built a lot of just leadership trainings, just I feel that are pretty effective.
Are you ultimately, do you feel like you're building this and you'll ultimately sell it? Or is it like, this is going to be my ride or die? Here's what I'm doing for life.
I would sell it. Like, I've thought about this as I've been thinking about it. Like, I don't know if I can give you a definitive answer, but I think in my mind, what I would love to do is somebody step in and say, hey, we'll handle the logistic end of it if you would stay the face and the messaging of it. Because I do like the messaging of it. I like writing about those type of things, about honor and dignity. That's what my newsletter usually is focuses on the quiet warrior principles and talking a little bit about that. I like bolstering up people. I like that. I like being like a coach, if you will, or being a positive influence in people's lives. A lot of the youth in our church get cornered and get the, hey, you know, this is what you ought to be doing. Hopefully they don't ever take it like I'm telling them how to live their lives, but like, here's some things to be thinking about that are going to pay dividends in your life if you take it seriously. I like doing that. I really like that part of life and of the business, if you will. The parts that I struggle with are getting the logistics. Like, I need to talk to somebody about the email end of it, like my email provider. I need to increase the amount of email credits that I have so I can send out more emails. I'm not happy with like the platform that I'm on. It's GoDaddy and I feel like it's clunky. I'm also like, how do I migrate everything off that onto a different platform? And it's a huge learning curve for me that I would love, if I could afford it, have somebody move that behind the scenes stuff. I've thought about it would be cool to sell t-shirts. I looked into some t-shirts the last couple of weeks. So I'm just trying to figure out like how to do that inexpensively as possible, still make a little bit of money off it. It all comes down to that stuff. Like, I love the messaging of it, but the logistic end of it, I would love to be able to find how to do that a little bit better, having a team to do that. The issue is, again, it's money, right? It boils down to like having that kind of capital to say, okay, this is what we can do. This is how much it's costs to move this to here. And this would make your website that much nicer to come to rather than feeling like they're going to like a trailer park. They're actually going to a nice mansion. You have a different level of trust in those places, right? At this place, you're going to be like maybe holding on to your wallet. Like, is this really a good place? But this place, you're like, yeah, hey, I'm in a safe spot to spend my money. And I would love to sell distribution end of it in a sense and maintain being the face of it for a while till I'm in the way of it, that or it dies off and people aren't interested in it anymore. I think that's my vision for it.
How did you go about building your audience so far?
I read the book. I started off, I remember saying like build a Facebook group. I just invited my friends. I was on Facebook. I attended like the coaching calls. And I remember like Greg wasn't very high on like boosting a post, but Leah was. I kind of stagnated for like 2 or 3 months, if you will, on just my group. Like I wasn't getting new people in and I was kind of frustrated because like I only had like 100 or 200 people or so that was in my group and I had 0 followers. I hadn't created a Facebook page, but I started listening and getting back into the training. And in 6 months to 6 figures, there was the bonus material. Ryan started talking about build a Facebook page, boost some of your posts on the Facebook page. And once I started doing that, I was like amazed. Like I kind of knuckled into my mission, which is again to restore dignity and honor back to being a man. And when I knuckled into that and knuckled down into that phrase, and then I created a little Facebook post and I boosted it, it took off like wildfire. Maybe to somebody else, they're like, that's not a big fire, Scott, but like it's had over like 5,000 likes. It's been shared over 1,000 times. That was huge to me. I was like, holy cow, this has legs. I asked them to like my page, right? I asked them to follow me. And now, that's what's built my audience up to 2,500 people. My goal is to get to 10,000 within the next couple of months. If I can get to that 10,000, my theory is that is what will open a lot more doors for people to trust that my product is a good product to purchase.
I used to think I needed something, but now I know something else and I've gone from this to that. Can you take a crack at that?
I used to think that I needed time, motivation, money, because I didn't think I could do entrepreneurialism national, but I felt like I just wasn't there. And the second time around, if you feel like there is some guidance where there wasn't guidance, I think that's the difference, is getting into the 1%, getting the training, talking to people that have done it, right? I think that's the difference. In fact, Ryan posted about the newest speaker in CapCon on social media. And like I posted, I can't believe there's still tickets. That just blows my mind that they haven't just been scooped up. At the very beginning, I signed up. I was an early bird ticket buyer. I went and talked to my wife. I was like, I really want to go do this. And it's kind of expensive, but she's like, I think you should do it. And so we're only into this less than a year. That's the difference maker, is like, okay, now I'm plugged into a group of people. I love Idaho, but as far as like mentality of like, I can make something happen. I can do something. I can kill it, right? I can figure out how to make my life better. That mentality, it's really hard to come across that in the type of way that I want to have it. I don't want to outdo somebody. I'm not in it to like crush somebody else. There are people out there that don't like me and I don't like them. And I mean, that's something I want to get over and get beyond, and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's not a like, I have to do this in order to outdo this person here or whatever. But at the same time, there isn't very many people in this area that are like, hey, I can go out and crush it. I can create a national brand. I can create an idea that's not just going to take off in the small market, but it's going to take off in the world, right? Like this is going to make an impact. And I know that it is kind of starry-eyed. And sometimes when I say it, sometimes I'm like, do I believe that? But like, that's what I like. And that's what I like about the 1% is there's other people that are in it, especially like the coaches, that they did that, right? That they in essence made an impact in not just in their hometown, but in the world, and they were able to figure it out. And some of them maybe had that grandiose, like, I want to change the world. And some of them might just have had like, hey, I just want to make an impact and make a good living for my family. That's something I like, and that helps me keep going, saying, hey, just put one foot in front of the other, listen, be coachable, listen to what's happening, see what's going on, just keep going. I think in this situation, that's priceless.